Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Lena. Welcome back to another video. So today we're continuing. This is going to be the last of the... no. This is the third of fourth videos about updating you on my favorites. This is the first time that I'm doing this one because I'm kind of new to horror. Like, I've always read horror, but it's been quite recently when I've decided to just like specifically read horror. And the thing is, I don't like paranormal horror books. I just don't like that. So I like sci-fi horror and fantasy horror. Oh, fantasy horror is just so good, and sci-fi horror are the best. Dark fantasy horror, dark fantasy is also fantastic. So if you're looking for like paranormal books, like, you're not going to find them here. Like, this is a really weird mix. Some of them are very light horror, like they have horror elements. They are not purely horror, but you know, I just really want to recommend these ones, honestly. Let's just get started. These are really not in any particular order at all. Because I'm not just like that well versed yet to just have like, yes, this is my #1 book. Nope. But, you know, I wanted to use this as a recommendations video too. So let's go. The first one, and probably kind of my favorite, honestly, and I know what I just said, but probably my favorite one. This is Hellmouth, and this is actually a novella, and I read it last year, 2 years ago, and I still think about it because it was so fucking good. But this under 60-page novella is basically about a group of mercenaries, and they are sent to this village and try to figure out what happened. When they get there, it's just like full of blood, but everyone is gone, and they find this hell pit. Basically this gigantic hole, but they do not see the bottom, and they go in there. Fantastic read. Fantastic read. It's also based on a real story. Obviously, not the horror parts, but a real story. You have it like at the back of the book. Highly recommend that you check it out. It's just super creepy. But yeah, I love this one. Gave it 5 stars. Still think about it till this day. Horror fantasy. An Altar on the Village Green. I love this book. And when I first read it, I was just like, okay, it's fine. But the more I think about it and the more time has passed, I think it's just gotten better. And I'm honestly really excited to get book 2. Like, I hope it comes out this year. I've been really like patiently waiting, but this is the book that I always recommend when I talk about Dark Souls, because it has like the same mechanics. You have this guy, and every time he dies, he goes back to the same point, and then he has to kill everyone again. And it just worked so well for this. But basically, in here, we're going to hold this guy, and he is sent to this village to try and fight the horror that is being stuck in here. And it has all these like inhabitants trapped in this loop, and he has to break it, and it's just so good. So creepy, so gory. I really like it. I do have to say that there are some sequences here where he learns abilities that in the last part were just like a little bit meh, but the general plot of this book is fantastic. The action is great, and I couldn't recommend this one enough. Then, before I forget, because I could not grab my copy because it's just in the middle of the other Spanish books, but this is Salem, and I have the Spanish edition, and I love this book. I've been obsessed with this book for so long. For so long. I also love the Rob Lowe adaptation of this. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but basically is about this writer, and he comes back home to this town and discovers that someone has inhabited like this really old house when some like murder suicide happened, and there's something like weird start happening again. This is about vampires, I'm just letting you know, but it's amazing. And if there's actually an adaptation coming, has it already come out? A TV show, has it? I need to check that out, but I'm really excited for that. And I just love this book so much. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Stephen King, but this book, amazing. Then let me talk to you about YA horror, because for some reason, I resonate better with YA horror than adult horror. I think it's because most adult horror is kind of paranormal, you know, they have like ghosts and stuff. And it's just like so boring to me. Like, besides maybe Stalling Tongues, which also a fantastic book. Check this one out. It's so fucking creepy. I want to say it's my favorite, but it's creepy. The level of creepiness is fantastic. But for me, like most of the books that I've encountered, they were paranormal, like, you know, ghosts and such. And for some reason, it just does not work for me. But YA horror has like such a level of goriness most of the time that is just fantastic. And usually the plot is just so much better. Like so much better. So for that, I have two. I've talked about them a lot, but I just really love them. The first one is For Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. I love this author so much. All of her books are just such a joy to read. Like they're so easy to read. It's just like great. So if you're looking for something that is very easy to read and really creepy, this author is for you. But especially this book, this is mixed media. And we are going to follow like a group of friends that enter these woods to find one of them missing friends. And the thing is, they go through this road and they enter like a world of nightmare where they have to pass different stages. It's great. It's great. I just love it so much. It's one of those like guilty pleasure books and I just love it immensely. I've read it a bunch of times and every single time it's just as good. Honestly, I think I need to get the audiobook again. But it's just great. I cannot recommend it enough if you're looking for like a really like horror-y type of read. That will be just super fast. And then Hold Back the Tide is a book that came out of nowhere for me. I don't even remember why I bought it. But one day I was just like, you know what? This book is here. Let me read it. The fucking surprise. Because basically, you start reading this and the girl is telling you a couple of rules. And one of them is, I live with the murderer. Do not make them angry because they will kill you. And I was just like, okay, sounds interesting. But this is not even like the fucking point of the iceberg. There's so much here. So much. If you like something like Salem's Lot of 30 Days or 30 Days of Nightmare, of darkness. If you like 30 Days of Darkness, either the movie or the comic, this one is for you. And the ending? This author, Melinda Salisbury, she has the balls. Like, the ending of this book. Holy shit, it's like a fucking punch to the face. I cannot recommend this one enough. Over Rules of Vanishing, because Rules of Vanishing is just like a personal taste, but this book is good. Like, this book is good. So, continuing into the Drowning Deep. I still love this book so much. This is about killer mermaids. It's about a mockumentary. And the first book is the mockumentary in itself. This crew disappears. It's a novella. I also read it and I really liked it, but I like this one more. And this one is about the crew that is after the first crew, after they disappeared. Mermaids are fucking scary, dude. They have always been. The ocean is the worst fucking place ever. I much rather go to space than go into the fucking ocean. Like, and I live in a coastal city. And I love going to the fucking beach. But you cannot put me on a pond of water that is over like 3 meters deep. If I cannot see my fucking, like, under my feet, nope. I'm not getting there. And this just made that fear even stronger. Like, I cannot deal with it. And it's great. Definitely would recommend this one. Then, this one I don't have a physical copy yet, but this is Tender is the Flesh. And shit. This book is kind of science fiction, but I'm putting it in fucking horror because if you read it, you know. You know. Basically, Tender is the Flesh is set on a world where meat is no longer available. Animals are no longer there. So we basically start harvesting humans. Like, not like your average human, but humans specially designed to be meat. If you have like a very weak stomach, would not recommend this book. Because some scenes, holy shit. But this is terrifying. This is terrifying in so many ways. It's especially the ending. The fucking ending of this book. Oh, will shake you to your core. Like, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. Highly recommend this one. Oh, then these two I fucking love. My Best Friend's Exorcism by Gary Hendricks. I'm also going to talk about another book by him like next. But this one is just great. If you're looking for like a very emotional story about strong friendships, Oh man, read this one. But basically it's set on the 80s and we're going to follow these two best friends. And after they dive into this pond late at night, one of them starts acting very weird and the other one thinks that they have been possessed by the devil. Oh, this book is so sad at times. It's definitely like the horror. It has some very like dark scenes in here, but it's just so fucking sad. Like some parts of it, I just wanted to fucking cry because I felt so much for the main character. It's just so hard, but I definitely recommend it. I still love this cover, this VHS inspired cover. It's just fantastic. Highly recommend this one. Guilty pleasure of mine, the Southern's Book Club Guide for Slaying Vampires. I love this one. If you've ever seen Fright Night, it just for me has the same vibe. For some reason, I just imagine Colin Farrell as the dude in here. I don't know why, but for me it's the same. And I just love it. You're basically going to follow these, oh my god, this stay-at-home mom, and she has this book club, but that doesn't come into play later because the thing is, this dude gets into her neighbor's house saying that, yeah, she's my grandma, and you know, she's very sick. I'm here to take care of her. And she starts suspecting that he is a vampire. It's never like really clear at first. It's just fantastic. I just love it so much. It feels so wrong. Patricia, it was Patricia, right? Patricia. I felt so bad for her at times because, of course, I think this was set in the 90s. Of course, they don't believe anything she says, especially her fucking husband. Like, I wanted to fuck that fucking bitch on the face so many times. Like, what a little bitch. But it's just very hard to read at times because you feel it. You're just like, fuck. I fucking love this book. I fucking love this book. One of my favorites. The moment I read it, I was just like, yes, I'm fucking sold. I actually really need to read this one. It's been such a long time, but I just love it so much. If you like Fright Night, this one's for you. It also has like some of the like dark comedy at times. It's just great. Okay, so two that I was too late to grab because they are under a lot of books. Cloning a Cornfield. I love a slasher. Holy shit. Slasher books. I just love them so much. I love slasher movies. I also love slasher books. This is not for everyone because they're very action focused. Not that much like horror elements per se, but it's definitely like, you know, horror. And I just love them so much. I do really like also My Heart is a Chainsaw. But this one has something, I've read it a couple of times already, honestly. It's just like so addicting. The second book came out recently. Didn't need it to be a part 2, but I still really enjoyed it. It's just such a guilty pleasure book. Like, it's just amazing. Really easy to binge. Like, I read it both times in one sitting. Amazing. But you're basically going to follow this girl, and she and her dad move into this town, and they basically have like this really weird clown mascot. And one day they're all partying in the woods, and then some mask killer appears and starts murdering them. I really liked it overall. If you're looking for like a good time, definitely check this one out. In this one, because I still don't have a physical copy, The Fisherman. What a good book. What a good book. But it's basically about a man dealing with the grief of losing his wife. And he starts going fishing, basically. So one day, like his co-worker is just like, hey, I know this pond is very up there in the mountains, but it's just such a cool spot. You should check it out. He checks it out. He checks it out. And it's very like Lovecraftian. It has like a time jump and a different story happens. But it's just so good, especially the ending. The ending of this book was so good in so many different levels. I cannot recommend this one enough. I still think about this one. I didn't give it like full like 5 stars when I first read it, but I still think about it. And it's been like 2 or 3 years since I read it. Like every time that I think horror and like Lovecraftian and such in atmosphere, I just think about this book. It's just so good. I definitely need a physical copy of this book, damn it. But I've been thinking also about reading it. It's just like so good in general. Okay, so we're getting into the last ones. Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I just really like Joe Hill in general. I've read almost every single one of his books in comic books. I'm a huge fan, but especially Nosferatu, because as you can see, I have a thing for vampires, scary vampires, not the other ones. But I just love it so much. This one is very weird. I mean, Stephen King's song, and you can see it in this book, but it's a very weird mix between, you know, like a vampire book and The Shining. But I just really liked it. It's basically about this dude that has this car with this, you know, plate on, and he basically kidnaps children. He's kind of a fucking vampire. I would recommend this one to read over Christmas, because we have Christmas land in here. Very creepy place. This also has an adaptation. I really like the adaptation. I have to say it's not my favorite, but overall it was a good one. I do prefer the book though. Still, definitely recommend it, but during the winter time. Just don't read in the summer. It's just like a fun book for the holidays. Then a manga, because I'm doing a separate video for graphic novels, and you know I'm a huge fan of horror graphic novels. But I'm putting this one here, Gannibal. I've talked about this one quite a lot during the year because it's been going out constantly, month to month. And this is about a cop that moves into this town, and when he gets there, he's to substitute the previous one basically, and he discovers that he was obsessed with the inhabitants of this town being cannibals. And the first day he's there, he finds a fucking arm with bite marks on it. So yeah, we go from there. The story is getting better and better. I do have to say that the last song I'm a little bit meh about, but in general the story looks great. I think it has like 13, is it 13 out already or something like that? It's going to be a long one. I thought it was going to be like on the shorter side, but apparently no. Okay, down to the last three. This one is confusing because this I could have put on the sci-fi front, but it's just such a weird book that I don't know where to put it, honestly. This is The Library of Bone Chart. I think it's definitely in the sci-fi part, but it definitely has horror elements, especially in the beginning. But this book is weird. It's fucking weird as hell. I don't even know if I can explain it, but basically at first we're going to follow like this family, and they have all been kind of kidnapped, and each one of them has like a special ability. One of them can basically bury themselves and die and talk to death. The other one knows every single language on earth. And the thing is, their father has disappeared. He's kind of a god, and they're trying to find him. This shit is for real. So weird. Like, it's one of those books where you're reading it and you're just like, what the hell is going on? Also pretty gory, but this is definitely a weird mix between sci-fi, mystery, horror, a little bit of everything. I will definitely put it in sci-fi, but for now we're sticking it here, and I would recommend that you check it out with caution. It's very weird. I could just like swap this one and Blindside between these two lists because they are both like sci-fi horror, but it's great. It's great. I will still recommend it a lot. This book shocked me so much when I first read it. This is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. And another weird book. But I just had to put down everything just to finish it when I started listening to it. And this is basically about a couple that are visiting his parents' house. And she's thinking that maybe they should break up. Another super fucking weird book. I just tend to really like very like nonsensical horror books for some reason. Like, I hate nonsensical on my like fantasy or sci-fi, but on horror books, I love this weird feeling, like the what the hell is going on, and I'm fine with not getting answers. Like, it's just like, what? And this book is kind of those things put together. It's just so weird. The ending still has my mind blown to this day. There's also an adaptation. I would not recommend it. If the book is weird, the movie is even weirder. Like, the first part is great. The second to last makes no fucking sense. Like, the book is already weird enough. What happened with the book, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it, but check out the book. It's great, especially the audiobook. It just flows so well. Check it out. And the last one, another weird book. This is House of Leaves by Mark C. Danielowski. This is one of those books that a lot of people have talked about, but it's just so weird to read. And you're either going to love it or hate it, because this is a very weird book. Just let me show you like an overview of this. You might see that some pages are blank. Some pages have a lot of text. Some pages are just like really weird. As you can see, some pages are backwards. This is an experience. And the thing is, this is a book within a book. So House of Leaves is the name of the overall companion, but inside we follow Johnny. And Johnny finds this book inside this professor's house. He killed himself and he finds this manuscript in there. The manuscript has like a transcript of a movie with notes of this professor, and then Johnny adds his own notes. The thing is, the more he reads about this manuscript, that is basically about a recording of a house that is bigger on the inside than on the outside. And the owner starts exploring it and is telling the story. Johnny starts getting mad throughout the book. And it's just seeing him slowly like getting his mind fucked up is just the journey. The destination, no sense. But the journey is amazing. This is definitely not a book for everyone. Not at all, because it's very about exploring, and it has mysteries throughout it. There's actually like a huge community surrounding this book, because there are like puzzles in a lot of pages that you will not see the first time you read it. So I would recommend that if you've read it, you check out Google, and then you will find out that there are like anagrams and such throughout the pages. It's just such a weird book. It will have you like very invested for a long time. It's very weird. It has like a lot of appendix. It definitely feels so real, because it's a textbook at first, and it just feels so real. Because you have like these like reputable names talking about it, like, yeah, I mean, we should investigate because that this and that, and it's just, it feels like a legit scientific like article or thesis. And it's just so confusing, because my mind is constantly just like, this is not real, this is not real, this is not real, this is a fiction book, this is a fiction book. But I feel like I'm reading like a textbook, so my mind is just confused all the time, thinking that what I'm reading is real. So it's making me scared because a house that is big on the inside is fucking scary. And it's just so fucking weird. But this one is very well known already. Definitely a journey. Like, you have to commit. This book is also very expensive, because it has like oh my god, how is this it? Oh, I have one page almost broken. But it has like color text, and because it's just like very weirdly like edited, it's very expensive, so careful with that. But you see, there are like so many. Like, there's a labyrinth on the book, so the book is a labyrinth too. It's great. This is an experience. If you have not read it, I definitely would recommend to check it out. I have two books that are very similar to this one. One is The Familiar, which is also by the same author, and apparently it's going to be a 14-book series. I still haven't read it because it's a tome. Like, it's just so heavy to hold. And the other one is XX, which is about an alien invasion, and it's also mixed media. And I really want to try it, but because it's mixed media, it doesn't have an audiobook. So I'm taking my time with it. But yeah, these are my favorite kind of horror books. Definitely, some people would not recommend some of this horror, but still, some of the horror elements of this book are why they are so good. So please, let me know just what are your favorite horror books, because I'm constantly looking for recommendations, because, you know, I really want to explore a little bit more. I also really like Nightmare, but I just don't know where my copy is, which is basically about this town, and you follow this guy, but one day the sun sets and it just never comes out, and everything is in darkness, and people start losing their minds. It's just like a very cool experience too, this one. I really need to continue this series, but yeah, please, if you have any recommendations, just let me know in the comments below, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye!